Okay, so it's Tuesday, the 22nd of April, 2025 at 1:41 p.m. Just going from a B period that goes from 10:17 a.m. to 1:42 p.m. on Tuesday into the C period of Tuesday that goes from 1:42 to 5:08 p.m. We have a high tide at the nearest maritime location at 4:28 p.m. using the winter time calculation always. And since it is 1:42 right now, we're actually within 3 hours before high tide, thus equaling a positive short lunar unit of 3 hours right now. And we're in a negative 3.5 day long lunar unit at this moment. So that positive short lunar unit combined with a positive long one equals a neutral unit. So basically for the next 3 hours till 4:28 p.m. we have a neutral lunar unit that we're in, and the energy or the quality or the state of the energy within this time frame, within this short lunar unit of 3 hours now, within 3 hours of this upcoming high tide is basically neutral. It's neither negative nor positive. It's very interesting. It's an interesting state, actually, because think about this, how interesting and calm a neutral state actually is. It's neither negative nor positive. It just is. And though, as a general rule, though, everything in life is, and there always is, a certain amount of a generally energetically masculine, life-giving, universal energy operational. So life is always living, and there's always that, like, a minimum increase and a minimum amount of, or general nature of a positive sort of an overall effect of things. And of course, there are also, there's the double negative, the neutral, the positive, and the double positive states and time frames, units of time that are actually units of time where the positive and the long and the short lunar cycles combine to create these different units. And these are basically identifiable within time by the tide charts, and then also, for example, the dates of the new moon and the full moon. And thus one is always able to essentially be watchful and then circumspect, prudently identify, and always be prudent, actually. And that's going to be the subject of this vlog in a second here, and identify one's actual real-time position within the cycles of life, and then navigate and operate in harmony with them as much as possible and attain the maximum benefit overall in terms of health, wealth, and achieving and accomplishing and hopefully maintaining the highest good overall. Yeah. Okay, so that having been said, and this is I still have 41 minutes on this. Because of the realizations I just had, I just started to vlog again now. And what actually happened, now that was in a B period. Now we're in a C period now. Yet what happened was that what I just realized was very, very important. And there are moments, so there are key moments and times. It could be, it could be during the day, and at a particular time you realize something while you're looking for answers or higher divine instruction and guidance, and also assistance and help in order to accomplish whatever legitimate life's goals, aims, and objectives you have, also leading to things like health and wealth increase, you get these cosmic instructions or divine inspirations, or things are revealed to you through the cosmic mind from God within you. You know, or you sense, you have a thought basically that's very intelligent and true, and it shows you how to improve things also. So that was what happened just now, and I thought, wait a minute, so okay, I'm going to share this thought that I had, and it was like how a thought is like maybe no more than a second, really, yet it's so full of truth, and it was like this. Realized that, so I actually know how life works, yet while I know how life actually works and also how it's cyclical and how to, live in harmony with them, and as we're seeking to, live very good all the time, right? And accomplish the highest good, then it's as if the more you know everything about how life works, you also know that it always works better than you could possibly compute or even sort of expect, based on even the maximum amount of knowledge that you have potentially about how it all works. So it's as if you know everything about how life works, yet at the same time you know that life always works better than you thought it would, sort of. It's very interesting, okay? The simpler explanation of this would be that all the wisdom that's necessary, you can have that and utilize that and plan and work on things and accomplish good things and seek to accomplish the best things, right? To make the wisest, safest decisions on a daily. And even as you do that, actually life still works out even better. Yet there is a requirement to be wisely proactive. So, like, this is saying that you can know everything about life and how it works, yet it will still always work better, even than you thought you could make it work with all necessary wisdom, for example. Yet you still have to make it work. It's like, if I don't go up that mountain, then I'm not going to get to the top of that mountain per se. Now, I could hitch a ride with a helicopter, for example, or something. Yet what I'm saying is you do have to be proactive, okay? And then really good things work. Like good faith accompanied by wise, legit works, okay? So yeah, you have to put in a certain effort to accomplish. And then you will, at the right times, accomplish the right things. It's true. Yet, it was also about that how much more prudent. Look, allow me to ask you, dear viewers, because this is the key right here, okay? Because I've been working on some things, okay? I've been putting in like precision effort to make it better, yeah? Also leading to things such as health and wealth increase and maximization, actually, right? And I'm going to tell you the truth, folks, is that what happened was that when I was taking a walk and I was able to sort of relax, right? I'm walking, and when you're walking in nature, it is said that your entire physical being, including the brain and everything, is basically running at maximum and like optimum capacity, because walking is very healthy, right? So you have really intelligent, things going on and so on while you're walking. not necessarily sprinting or running, although that could be the case too, yet when you're walking in nature, things are running at a perfect optimum level also with the physical body through the exercise and the breathing and so on, that leads to it leads to very, very good human performance and capacity and operating and results. And you have really good ideas and see things very clearly and have things are running very good when you're walking. Okay. Now that having been said, I'm going to quickly adjust my positioning at this time. So in any case now, hold that thought, right? Oh, the thought. Okay, so the fact is that, see, while you're legitimately living, operating scientifically by properly applying wisdom in your life, practically applying wisdom in your life, right? And you're essentially on a mission to accomplish whatever is really the best thing that you can, because you know that there's always two ways, and the right way or the wise decision leads to safety and health and all these good things, right? Overall, while you're busy with this legit process, right? What'll happen is that, you see, you have a certain amount of knowledge and wisdom, and some of it's available from certain holy books and sources, such as also wise men and things like this, and also through utilizing the wisdom that you have, scientifically experimenting with it in life, and then reflecting on the results and analyzing the data from your experiments, and then gaining additional wisdom by actual real life experience. So, yet at the same time, what will happen is, and this is really what's so good and important, because imagine you're putting in your very best efforts, and then and you're thinking, and how do we make this work, and how do we get this achieved, and so on. And then what will happen is there will come a cosmic impulse, a divine inspiration, or a communication, like a thought, where you'll know all of a sudden what has to be changed, or almost like getting real-time live instructions and intelligence from the Creator communicated to you from within, so that you'll know, okay, here's what you should adjust. And then you think about it, and you realize, that's actually true. Someone told me that once, and this guy, he knew what he was talking about, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now, and I should actually simplify this thing, simplify that process, and then optimize everything, right? So what will happen is, while you're legitimately busy with, good things in life, and also accomplishing good things in life, there will be a sort of a divine instruction. And now, how does this look? To be precise, what happens is, it could be like right now, I was taking a walk and I'm thinking, and all of a sudden I just realize, I should simplify my my application, right? Simplify it, reduce it to a couple sentences, and then things like that, for example. Or change this a little bit, and then this will work much better. Okay, things like that, right? Now, And then the overall measure, though, and this is probably the greatest realization I've ever had so far, because of having to actually also operate and prosper in life, and also, upgrading our strategy as we go, as we have to. You're reflecting on your progress and how to make things better, and you realize, and this was that it's the measure of your success, the level of it actually is directly determined by just how prudent you are. Now, how prudent you are in terms of, and this is what's important, prudent in terms of the following, for example. So basically, operating as scientifically as possible, living, making decisions also, acting on, right, thoughts that are that are perpetuous. In other words, all during the day, we have different ideas and impulses. I had an idea before, and then I thought about it, and I thought, wait, should I really is this priority right now to be thinking about this, right? And then before I know it, maybe I'll make a vlog about it and talk about it, and then I'll load it on YouTube, and it'll be all over the internet, and the world will know this. Yet, is this really what it is the time for right now? Is it in harmony with the cycles of life? In other words, we have to be able to use self-discipline and be able to master our destiny, and also our life, through mastering ourselves also, in terms of having discipline and being able to essentially have patience and self-discipline, so that I'll be able to force myself, if necessary, to refrain from engaging in or thinking about and then talking about and then doing this, for example, or that, or whatever particular thing, if it's not really the right time for it. Like a farmer who's got a field to plant, and he's going to plant it at the right time of the year so that it will grow and yield good fruit, versus planting it at the different time because he feels like it. So in other words, being able to, and this is the exact thing that self-mastery is all about, and this is the key to absolute victory in self-mastery, and mastering your destiny in your life, actually, and having immense amount of power, is by actually having discipline over yourself and your thoughts. Moreover, though, where it really starts is with the thoughts. So we have different thoughts and ideas during the day, and these all happen in different cycles of life, in different daily periods, in negative 3-hour, time frames where it's like the tide is emptying out, and therefore it's negative or more resting, or then in a positive one when the tide's about to peak within 3 hours, and then it's a positive long lunar unit, and there's a positive nature and a force happening more. Then there'll be some thought that'll give you like a big plus, and you'll figure things out. You'll have some revelation, and you'll put it to work, and it will work, and you'll win. Yet we have to just be prudent and circumspect, so that what will actually be. See, because if you think about it, you can be still, and it's as if there's nothing except what there is around you. And thoughts, though, they come at different times, and it's like there's the right types of thoughts that happen in the right life cycles when it is the time for these things. And so basically what I'm saying is that whatever we creatively accomplish as human beings usually starts with a thought or a divine impulse, an idea. And the mind of God is within you, so that should be taken seriously too, because you may have an idea or some type of a calling where it really is God speaking and communicating to you, within you, and you know it. Yet perhaps the limitations of the world or some type of other, imaginary obstacle hinders the full fruition of that good thought. the will of God is directly communicated to man and woman within, okay? And it should be taken, you should attentively hearken to that and discern. So we have to discern, right? What we have is that, see, the level of your success and the increase, it has to do with how prudent you are, and that basically equates having self-discipline, having discipline in the mind, actually, because, look, I might have an idea during the day now, right, to accomplish something. I might think, okay, wait, if I do this, this could result in, health, wealth, financial gain, etc., stuff like this. Yet, is it the time for this? And that's why at the beginning of this vlog, I identified what cycles of life we're in right now. Now, we have to be prudent and very attentively and wisely discern, first of all, what's going on within us, our thoughts, and keep it simple too, because see, I could be busy thinking about solving something or how to accomplish something, and then I just stop eventually if it doesn't just work like magic right away, and normally it does. In fact, life always gradually does work perfectly, okay? Gradually, right? Yet, what I'm saying is there will become a higher divine impulse or an idea that will arrive to your mind or your sense, thinking and perceiving like God's communication from within, and you'll know, okay, this is what I should actually, this is what I should do, so that it will work. Now, that's being prudent, because we always have the free will to decide. We can always, it's like I can act on an idea or refrain from it. And that's the key, because there are certain ideas that arrive at certain times where it's the time for these type of things that you're thinking about to be made real, basically. And there's this, at the same time, the opposite is also true. So discerning and then being circumspect and basically living in harmony with the cycles of life is key. And it's that actual mode of operation that brings the best. Yet what happens though, and this is just when I said this, it went through my mind again. It's like I just had the same cosmic impulse. It's like the divine mind within me, just this thought came through again. And it's the same thing, is that basically operate as scientifically as possible. Practically apply wisdom as much as possible in your life, and still what happens and what will happen is that everything will still work better. Much better. Now, that's actually it. That's actually it. So you see, as much as you could know about everything and the amount of wisdom you could have being just exponential and massive, you could pretty much know everything there is to know, yet you also would know that it all works better. And that's what's interesting. And I know this is true. I've had this thought a couple times before. I've looked at my experience and I've seen that this has happened to me. Thank God. It's true. So now let's get into the details of how to really maximize our that's another thing. That's an illusion of the world, all this sort of over the top amount of things. Like it's almost as if they it's better. It's like you always have what's good for you in just the right amount provided to you by the Creator. Thank God Almighty. Okay? And that's true. It's always happened to me thus. It's a true report. It really is. Okay. Yet another thing is though, that do you realize what you're working on or striving for? And I just realized this. Sometimes we have to question our goals and our motives too. Because it's possible to become distracted by the world and materialist things, whereas the goal that we have is a much higher one. So what I'm saying is that you have to be reminded of your true divine potential and purpose at times. Now we can see this and have insight into this with wisdom knowing about the cycles of life and our soul personality, basically describing to us generally who we are based on our birthdays. And this is true, it's accurate. This information is from a book called Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life. Okay? You can get a free copy of it on the internet. Now, if you really think about it, though, it's as if every hour, every couple of hours, and certainly every day, at minimum, one should zoom out as far as possible and actually be as circumspect as possible in one's life on a daily basis at minimum, because the more you keep a bigger picture and a bigger overview of the different cycles of life that you're in, you will also know exactly what to prioritize in order to accomplish and thus also reap the maximum amount of benefits and health and wealth increase and accomplish the best and the highest good, basically. So your goals and aims and objectives, it's like you have to calibrate and accurately recalibrate your equipment as you go every day, because if you identify some objective in business, for example, during the right life cycle period, annual life cycle period, right? So every year. Yeah, do this every day. Every year, though, you've got 365 days a year. Then you've got 7 cycles of 52 days, starting on your birthday, right? So in every one of these 52-day cycles, you've got unique areas of opportunity, and there are certain things that you should basically be busy with and strive to accomplish, and thus you will basically accomplish them, because it's the time in the cycles of life for these things. So, and then if you try to accomplish other things at that time, it basically doesn't yield very much. Yet if you work on the right things, they work, and it brings you, great benefit, basically. Okay? So, now, that having been said, it is a fact that we have to remain circumspectly focused on objectives that are, wherefore it is the time in our lives according to the life cycles that we're in. Now, if you do this, what happens is that it's as if things work like magic, so to say. Because, for example, if I know that, at this time of the year, for the next 52 days of this annual life cycle period, number 4, for example, or for the rest of this one for about another month, right? I'm supposed to be in this and this and this area of business, engaged in this and this and this type of business to be successful, based on what the time it is for right now in my life, right? If I go into these areas, I apply in these areas and get into these areas and professions and things, it yields maximum results, more so than if you were in some other sort of a field. Almost like this could be compared to, while it's harvest season, you're harvesting a ton and tons of good fruits, versus sort of like, I don't know, versus like harvesting things too early or too late. Rather, the maximum yield is at a certain time. And this is all described in the description of the cycles of life. You can know this and do this, and you better do it, because that's the only way to really ultimately make it through and prosper. So what this equates is that you can go and examine your life and pay attention to the cycles of life that you're in, and then figure out, okay, wait, this and this and this and this. Oh, the moon. Ugh, really? oh, it's just emptying out. It's going to be empty in 5 days. It's at 0 point. So you realize that that's another thing. And I did actually, look, you have to actually pay attention to a couple things that are going on, okay? In order to be let's say to have the highest amount of prosperity and success, you actually have to pay attention to a couple things. And what they are is a couple different cycles of life. First of all, your soul personality, who you are as a person, including knowledge of your strengths and things that you're good at in all areas of life, and vice versa. Okay, then your overall simple period of human life from 0 to 144 years. Based on your age, you're in one of those 7-year segments from 0 to 144, and then in one of those, it's a time for a particular thing. So you'll automatically be prone to philanthropy, for example, between the ages 36 and 35 and 42, like I am right now. So then you realize, oh, this makes me happy. It makes me happier to share this information with you than it just makes me happy, right? Because that's what it's time for in your life. Okay, and then you've got the annual life cycle period, right? Starting on your birthday, 365 days, divided into 7 52-day segments. And in each one of these, you've got certain areas of business to be engaged in, to be the most successful, and certain things like to take care of your health, like taking walks. But then at other times, maybe, don't, like, you got to be attentive not to overeat and stuff, because there'll be a tendency toward overeating and so on and so forth. So knowing all these details helps us basically live perfectly forever, right? But also, though, you got to pay attention to the lunar units, because look, and this is where it gets really interesting. This is true. I know this is true. I've been paying attention to this for years, and it's accurate. We got to talk about the importance of the lunar units and how they show us. It's as if, so the heavens are like clockwork. The heavenly bodies are like clockwork. So like the Almighty, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He also made it so that we can see, okay, oh, the moon is just new. Okay, oh, it's just getting full. Now it's full. So it's like what you're seeing is when you see a new moon or a full moon, or you see how it goes from empty to full, and from full it empties out to empty, and then it fills up again to full. It's like what that is it's as if like on an airplane, like a dashboard, you could see what the constant and permanent energy that permeates the entire universe, the entire life-giving energy that's everywhere and present everywhere. You can see what phases and basically double negative, negative, neutral, positive, or double positive units, ranging anywhere from 3 hours to 3.5 days in length, basically, and variations, of course, in addition to that, is going through. Now, this is a highly important thing, because, look, for example, I'm going to give you an example of what this is and how this is useful and can be practically applied to maximize our, health, wealth, security, prosperity, etc. It's like this. So, for example, now, should we start with what we have right now? Because it's most logical to use an example that is applicable to the actual situation right now, because it helps us navigate additionally safely as we are operating right now at this time, right? So at this actual moment, like I said, so we're paying attention to the lunar units, right? And then, of course, after that, you would pay attention to the daily periods of 3 hours and 25 minutes, whereof there are 7 a day. 7 days makes us strong. But now, still looking at the lunar units for a second, and because they're so important, because they actually, if you pay attention to the lunar cycles, you can actually achieve things with like, I would say, almost absolute certainty and effectivity, because of how the moon is like what is that called? It's like like an instrument on a dashboard showing you what phases, what amounts, and what type of either a positive or a negative, or say a double negative, negative, neutral, positive, or double positive quality, state of energetic quality the universe is in at certain times. And these time frames, basically, on the short scale, they're 3 hours in length. It could be like so for example, right now, I'm going to use the example from right now to make this as practical as possible. And it's that, so for example, we have a short lunar cycle that manifests itself as the tides, and that's the short lunar cycle of 12 hours. This one is very important because it's the immediate one, right? This is the shortest one to pay attention to. So for example, as a general rule, 3 hours, so you need to take a tide chart from your nearest maritime location and look at it so that you can see what the tides are. The reason why we're paying attention to what the tides are is because by identifying the tide times, we can see the negative or positive lunar short units and what time they exist. And thus, what times of the day, what state the universe and the world around us is in, either in a negative, energetically feminine resting state, or a masculine, positive, life-giving and an increasing state, or a quality. And so, for example, to explain and to show you how to actually practically comprehend and utilize this now is the following example. It's just like this. It's that at this moment now, at the nearest maritime port, and it's about a 230 clicks south of here, I've got a tide chart from there, and I can see that at 4:28 p.m. today, we've got a high tide there. Now, that's the nearest maritime location, and that's the nearest place where the tidal potential, the tide generating force, right, that is said to be exerted by the moon on Earth and bodies of water, is being exerted by the moon. And it's valuable, very valuable information. Now, for example, right now, okay, it's 2:20. Wow. 2:20. And at 4:28 later, though, we've got a high tide. And as a general rule, 3 hours before a high tide, you have a positive short unit of 3 hours. So things are just peaking. And then they reach their peak again with that high tide. And then it decreases again, right? And empties out again. And then it rises up again and fills up again. It's always that way. So I now know for a fact that for the next 2 hours until 4:28 p.m. today, right? I know that I am certainly that the Earth and human life activity, the energy that is having an effect on the universe and the world around us in this general area of, let's say, the Earth plane and the world, because of the tide chart from the nearest port and us being in somewhat of a proximity to that location where this force exerted by the moon on Earth and bodies of water and landmass and so on is being measured, indicate things are in a, so the short unit is a positive one. Now, the next thing to consider is that we have, so for example, we've got a new moon on the 27th, right? Today is the 22nd. So 3.5 days before a full moon, a new moon, you have a positive long lunar unit of 3.5 days. 3.5 days before a new moon. Yet we're about 5 days before one right now. And thus, we're still in a negative 3.5 day lunar unit because it always alternates between negative and positive. And so that negative long lunar unit of 3.5 days that we're in right now for another 2 days basically or so, right? Combined with the short positive for the next couple hours till 4:28 when the tide peaks, it gives a neutral state. So now, why is this actually worth, mapping, because look, I know for a fact right now, and it's obvious. I know for a very hold up, what happened? So I know for a fact right now that basically till 4:28 p.m. today, like everything in life around us here, and for a certain amount of time only, is basically in a neutral state, a neutral sort of a neutral state of existence. Now, in terms of that, there will not be a lot of tendency toward increase or decrease. And like, if you look at how Earth, human, and life activity is based on basically positive or negative, differentiation, yes, no, in and out, plus, minus, sending a letter in the mail, right? Getting a letter in the mail, sending out an application, somebody reading it and being impressed, or sending out an application and it just lays on the table, proactive activity, increase or rest or decrease. Things are in a position of neutrality right now. So where does this become practically important to see through the lunar units? What state the universe is in right now in this immediate part of the Earth plane and the world, based on the nearest maritime port's tide chart showing me the lunar short cycles. Because, for example, now, if I had to accomplish something or sought to accomplish something that was generally a type of thing where it's based on there being